Gunnar Souls is here with me. Jason's here with me. Boys, a big victory for you today. Souls, talk to me, my friend. Talk to me.
Hey, I did tell people Arteta's going to be flexible. People were getting on to me for saying, no, he's definitely going to play party right back. He's definitely going to tinker too much. And I told you, just give it time and things will go back to normal. And you know what I've said? This is the perfect way to start the season because last season we did too much too early. We were as perfect as we could be. Yes, there were a few flaws against in the first 10 games last season, but were too minor to actually improve on and actually make a bigger impact. This season feels different where even though a lot of our players aren't on form, we haven't seen the best of many of these players, but yet we're picking up results, yet they're picking up output, and we're starting to see Arteta actually be flexible and using his squad a bit better as well. Like today we saw Tomiyasu come on. Before we've seen Jorginho come on. We've seen Kai Havertz come on, Fabio Vieira come on, Eddie Nketiah, Jesus, Trossard, etc. So he's starting to trust more of his squad and actually play the right players. Today for me, I think one of the biggest talking points has been David Raya and Ramsdale, whether this means is it the end of Ramsdale. No, I truly believe what he wants to do is give David Raya his opportunity, but then give Aaron Ramsdale the first game of the Champions League because he is a key component of us getting back to this level. He has been the one who has dragged us in some ways to get back into the top four and get back into Champions League football. And Arteta said, you know what, you have your moment. The first game against PSV is at the Emirates. You're going to have your moment. And I think from becoming a 3-time relegated keeper to becoming a Champions League keeper is something that Arteta wants him to build his confidence on. So, and I truly believe that is the narrative I'm going with. I mean, I could be completely wrong and David Raya starts against PSV, but that's the way I see it. And in terms of the game today, this is another ground conquered. That's how I see it. We have struggled since 2016. Arsene Wenger was the manager when we last beat them. We had the likes of Ozil, Lacazette. We had Mustafi playing in defence. We had Petr Cech in net. So when we look at how much we've overcome, and even after the disallowed goal, whether people want to agree, it is offside. From the rules of the game, that's offside, and we still kept going. Martinelli getting injured was a big impact to us, but Trossard came on, did his thing, got absolutely slaughtered against Fulham for the 45-minute cameo that he had. Eddie Nketiah coming on at halftime, one of the first earliest substitutions that Arteta did. This team seems to just be growing, and I'm liking what we're seeing. And now we've got the Champions League, we've got the Northern Derby. Let's just keep going. We need to be positive. We need to understand it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we got a bit too giddy too early last season. And now it's about being calm, being composed. We've won 4, drew 1. What more can we ask for?
Mate, I think I love what your breakdown there. I think when you look at the Ramsdale Raya situation, I think you're spot on. I don't think there'll be a decisive number one for a little while yet. I think they're both going to get some opportunities, and maybe after a month, 2 months, 3 months, then there may be one who comes out as the Champions League and Premier League goalkeeper. Maybe the other one becomes the FA Cup, League Cup goalkeeper. But I think, keeping that level of competition is key, if that makes sense. It's going to, as you said, that kind of pressure, that kind of competition does create better quality. It forces people to up their games and maintain their standards for a higher level. There's no doubt about that. I wanted to ask you about another player today that came. Sorry, go on, mate, go on.
I was going to say another thing with Raya is I feel like there's situations now because when you look at David Raya, one of his best attributes has been being able to defend set pieces, whereas with Ramsdale has been a bit iffy when it comes to corners and actually playing against physical opposition, whereas with Brentford have really prided themselves on how they've handled set-piece situations. And I think Arteta's becoming flexible, not just from a goalkeeper perspective, but from every single position and looking at the opposition and going, what's the best to conquer that? He said last season, we went physical to physical. This season, we went, no, we're going to play our smarter players, Fabio Vieira being one of them, Odegaard and Rice, rather than going for the Kai Havertz and matching them physically, because last season he would have went Tomiyasu instead of Zinchenko. So I think it's going to be a case of we're going to see a lot more of this where things are going to change and we're not going to expect them.
I hear you on that. I wanted to ask you about Fabio Vieira because there's been calls for him to come in. What did you make of his overall performance for you today?
Overall, I think from a perspective of him starting, I think he did what he needed to do. I mean, potentially got an assist. He kept things ticking. I mean, it wasn't I wouldn't say it was a star-like performance from him. It wasn't something that was like completely, yes, he needs to keep starting, but it's a lot better than what we've seen. And this is what I think we're transitioning into. We're going to have that Man City effect where players are going to need a season before we're going to see the best of them. He's clearly had struggles with, the physicality of the Premier League. Speaking to people who watch Portuguese league, it's a lot softer in terms of how they are, and the amount of dives that happen in the Portuguese league is different to what happens in the Premier League. So the transition was always going to be difficult for him, and a lot of players who come from the Portuguese league do tend to struggle in their first few seasons. But now you're seeing it, his mentality has changed. He wants the ball. He wants to, fight for it. Defensively, he was good. Attackingly today, he was good. But there were parts of his game which I wish can improve. But I feel like that's going to happen on the left-hand side. Whoever starts is going to be the guy that's going to be shadowed by the person who comes on. Kai Havertz came on too late to actually make an impact. But we've been seeing it. The left-hand side has been a lot quieter than most of the team this season.
I hear you on that. Jason, I mean, you're someone that's always been someone that's really been critical of Arteta, especially in his opening few games this season. Do you feel that it's all starting to fall into place now that the season's really kicking on? Were you more impressed with today's performance? Do you now feel it's more sustainable?
I feel like, to be honest, the performance wasn't like great, but like you said earlier on, like, City started late, City kind of like started slow. You don't expect to be like starting gun ho, if you know what I mean. It's just all about results at this moment of time. And I feel like with that 4 wins, 1 draw, I feel like it's a really good start itself. But I feel like, in terms of Partey getting injured as well, that's a massive blow. But at the same time, Arteta today, he put the players in the right position as well. He kind of like, David Raya came into the fold, brings a little bit of competition, which I kind of respect on that forefront as well. But at the same time, I always felt like Trossard has to start this game. Like sometimes our attack, I know Martinelli, Saka, obviously Eddie's not on form at the moment. They're not at their best at the moment. But I just felt like Trossard deserved a chance. But at the same time, that kind of paid it off, coming on early and took his goal really well as well. So, you know what? Fair play to Arteta itself. Another ground conquered as well. I hate Everton to shreds. I can't stand them, to be honest. Lose 10 games. When it comes to Arsenal, they always beat them at Goodison as well. Like, literally, it's stressing. Hope they get relegated, man. Honestly, but to be fair, it's a comfortable performance today anyway. So,
yeah, I hear you on that. Viewers, we've shared the link if anybody wants to phone in and join us and have their say today. The question that came in earlier, I wanted to ask you all. Are you worried, Souls, about winning games 1-0, 2-1, but dominating the play? Or would you rather go back to last season where you were open at times and you conceded chances, but you were scoring an extra goal or two? What do you prefer based on that question?
Oh, man, that's the hardest answer because for me, it depends on the opposition. Like when you're looking at someone like Everton, beating them 1-0 is fine because what's going to happen on the other end in terms of them attacking us is probably not going to result in anything. But when it comes to someone like a Man City, I want to have a cushion. I want to be able to, I'm not saying we're going to beat Man City 2-0, 3-0, but you want that 2-3 goal cushion. Because look at Anfield last season, we went 2-0 up against them. And what happened? They turned the game around. So some occasions, I don't like it. Some stadiums, I don't like it. I'd rather have a bigger cushion, take your chances, because sometimes those chances are the ones that win you the game. So I think it depends on the opposition. Against the mid-table and lower from 10th to, let's say, 20th, I don't really care. 1-0, 2-1, it is what it is. But against this, like, for example, we're playing in the North London Derby, I want a 2-goal, 3-goal cushion just so that we can actually relax and actually dominate the game without panicking that something's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of actually varies because, sometimes I want to attacking, like, I want to score 5-6 goals, but at the same time, like, I'm not a big fan of 1-0 or 2-0, but I understand that. Like, depending, going on to like tough stadiums like Goodison Park, like where we actually struggled for like 6 years, like going into like tougher grounds like Old Trafford, I don't mind that 1-0, like 1-0, 2-1 or something like that, keeping that defense tight. Just general, I feel like I want that on the away games. But if it was at home, I would rather go gun ho because it's in our stadium. I would basically, we're meant to win as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think there has to be a mixture on those things. Definitely. It's a great roundup, boys. This is 3 points, but missing drive and energy in the midfield. Do you think your midfield missed drive and energy today?
Now, I'd say one criticism I will give Arsenal is the end of this game and the end of the Crystal Palace game. I'm a bit wary of about how the composure gets lost. Like even today, there was like moments where we're just clearing the ball rather than holding on to it, retaining possession. I know sometimes it has to happen just to kind of keep the game flowing, but for me, I don't think the energy in midfield is actually fine because Odegaard was the press trigger. He was the one who was constantly pressing forward. Fabio Vieira was driving with the ball when he needed to be. I think what the difference is, we've become smart, and I think that's when football becomes smart, it becomes boring. And that's for a neutral or for a person who just likes watching exciting football, it's not good. But we're doing what we need to do. And this whole idea of having an energy midfield doesn't always need to happen. Against a physical side, it's actually going to be a detriment to us than actually being smarter and actually just outplaying their press. And that's what we did today.
I hear you on that. Bro, until Raya has a calamity, he will start. His long balls are so good, is what Enigma says here. It's a fair point if that's what you think, bro. Black King says Terry is a hypocrite. Yeah, you need to expand on what you mean by that because I don't know what you're referring to, but thank you. Rice and White went under the radar, but with class. Do you know what it was? They put in those 7.5, 8 out of 10 performances without being spectacular. And this is the thing. But I was watching the game with my brother today, and he's like, "What do you think of Rice?" And I said, "Well, I understand why people would say he's not a £100 million player because typically you never spent that amount of money on a DM. He's not Declan Rice. He's not Jude Bellingham. He isn't going to do what Jude Bellingham does. He's never going to do what Jude Bellingham does. But at being a DM, he's one of the best in the world. And there was 2 or 3 really good interceptions that he made today, good challenge that he made that just went unnoticed. I didn't even hear the fans in the stadium clap, but I'm watching it. Someone who played that position for a while as going nowhere near this quality and just thought, how he's reading that. Yeah, top quality. Jerome here, who's a Spurs fan, says it's going to be a very, very tough North London derby, but I have to respect that Arsenal are a good team. I did want to ask you guys, a lot of Spurs fans, not Jerome's being respectful, young Daniel and Jacob yesterday, a lot of Spurs fans are saying they are coming to the Emirates next week and they are beating you. A lot of Spurs fans are saying this, legit, verbatim. They are beating you at the Emirates Stadium next week. Are you guys concerned with how they've got them playing?
They never learn. Absolutely. They never learn, man. Honestly.
They do this every time.
Tottenham fans in a nutshell, man.
2010.
No, you know what the funniest one was? I remember the Terrace did a live show, like a Friday night show that they were doing. And this was on Arteta's first actual season. And we were shocking and we beat them 3-1. They just don't get the lesson that it doesn't matter how you come into this, we're always going to beat you at the Emirates. That's just what happens. Yes, if this was at the at the White Hart Lane, it's a different story. But it's not. It's at the Emirates. You're coming to our ground. Bring it. Because you know what? I want you to gas it up so we can absolutely humble you guys and actually tear your dreams apart. Because that's the way I want to win a North London derby. I don't want to win it when they're already down. I want to win it when they're on the highs. Let's absolutely crush their hopes.
I mean, to be fair, they are doing well at the moment, but it's just typical Arsenal, isn't it? Put them in the spliff.
And so,
go on, T. Okay, not talking now. Della Spurs, another Spurs fan here, says,
long time no see, Terry, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You must have a big delay. What were you going to say, bro?
I was going to say, going to Goodison Park is tough. The last time we won there was 2017, like almost 6 years we went, but I'm happy we finally ended it. Tough game. I went for a 1-0 win to us. I said it's going to be a tough game. Everton are whack, but it was good to get the job done. I was thinking, it's going to be a draw in it, but I'm happy for Trossard. Like, he wasn't that great today when he came on, kept on being sloppy, but I'm happy he got the winner for us. But fantastic game. Fabio Vieira, I thought he was outstanding today. David Raya, top keeper, I thought he was outstanding. Good ball distribution is so good. He doesn't make no mistakes. I thought he was fantastic today as well. So massive win for us, and like bring PSV at home and bring the derby next week. And as for you Tottenham fans, you do this every time. You haven't beaten us at the Emirates since 2010. We ain't lost to you for almost 13 years. You did all right. We'll see. And when we humble you again, we'll see, because you do this every time, and you guys win nothing. So bring the derby next week. But like I said, we are gonna humble you again.
Listen, I hear where you're coming from. Della Spurs here says, I'm all for sustainability, but Arsenal have a goal difference of 5, and Man City have a goal difference of 11. After 5 games, Man City's average of 3 goals a game, and Arsenal are averaging 1.
But that's nothing to do with sustainability. Nothing to do with sustainability, because it's about dominance. Man City score more goals, so they're more clinical. We can all agree on that. But that's nothing to do with sustainability. We are controlling games. I think Everton had an XG of 0.03 today or something like that. So we're not allowing the opposition to create much against us. So that sustainability would be if we were getting peppered and we were winning games on a counter, or we would have one chance and we'd score. I mean, that's what Spurs did under Conte, and that wasn't sustainable. So I think you've got, your wires crossed over here in regards to sustainability. If you're controlling games, if you're creating more chances than your opposition, you're bound to win games. So I'm a bit confused, but yeah. Thanks for the super chat.
I agree. I understand where he's coming from in terms of more goals, but my view is Arsenal are not just going to keep winning all the games 1-0 all year. I think Arsenal are going to start scoring more goals. So, yeah, I don't look at it as too much. As a rival, that worries me. Terry, I can't lie. TFT is sick. Come on, you gooners. Thank you. I assume in sick still means what sick meant when I was a youngster. It means good. I'm assuming it hasn't changed in terms of slang. Some words do change.